hard for me to hold my head high when I'm in foreign countries now. And it's, under previous administrations, I didn't feel that way. Now, but that's my opinion and that's my feelings. And I make them known every time I get a chance to vote. And I just tore up I voted today sticker because there's a special election coming out in California. There's special elections all over. And so, take the opportunity to have your say. It matters.
Yeah,
Trump
and there was a lot of
himself
people
is
who were,
embarrassed about what he's doing to the White House. The Treasury Department is across the street from the East Wing, and he's instructed people at the Treasury Department not to take pictures of the destruction of the East Wing and post them anyplace because he's embarrassed about coverage of the destruction. So you talked about what kept you up at night is the death of chess grandmasters. What's keeping us up at night are coyotes. Like we have an epidemic of coyotes, and they're young ones who haven't learned to shut up. They're super loud, and their howling is super creepy because they don't really know how to do it well, and it just sounds like screaming. And so we got a Ring camera to track the coyotes. And 2 nights ago, possibly because of a Chinese hack, all the Ring cameras in the U.S. went down.
Yeah. There was a possible hack that involved Amazon and a number of other companies as well that took place yesterday. That even impacted here in this area because I know that they were having a very
Amazon couldn't take my order yesterday, and I was very surprised because they're really all over that kind of stuff. And
it's
going to get worse, not better.
It's bad if we're at cyber war with other countries, and this is how it's popping up.
Yeah, that's very bad and everything. I alluded to it earlier, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts around this, and maybe even Sharif has got some thoughts, because I told you that I had a buddy of mine that had picked up a copy of Kamala Harris's book, and they said it read like a campaign platform and everything like that, and they actually thought it was a good book and all in that lines. But apparently, even recently, there are some networks that are saying that at some event she was at, that she was hinting at a political future. She apparently told Charlemagne that the popular host and everything like that, that she's in it for the fight. So it sounds like she is gearing up to be a candidate along with Gavin Newsom and Wes Moore and a number of others as well that might put their name in the hat. But what is our thoughts around Kamala Harris wanting a second go at it?
So the name of her book implies how handicapped she was in running for president, that she only had 107 days to make her case, and it wasn't the result of any primary. She was kind of, appointed herself or was appointed. So we don't know how strong she will be as a candidate if she makes it through the primary process, where she's been accused in the past of not being able to straightforwardly answer questions. If you listen to her responses, she's not a lot worse than anybody else, but at least this time around, we will have a full-on Democratic primary process.
Full vetting.
It would give us, a pretty durable candidate.
Yeah.
If Democrats would have any chance in next election, they have to learn from Republicans. Republicans learn what American people want and what they like. What American people want and what they like is the party of real estate developers. And Democrats have to find some talented real estate developers, put them in front of the party, and win easily.
Yeah.
So we got to find a real estate developer. So there's some good Democratic real
Maybe
estate.
a reality.
I have some views
Yes, go
about
ahead.
American politics. I do focus on last 5 years about talent economy with this Pod TV, where I'm referring this information from day one. This is my imaginations that the youth will be more powerful, even though it starts from emerging economy. It starts from Bangladesh, but step by step, it's create impact in Nepal, in Indonesia, in Sri Lanka, and all of the countries. In the same way, step by step, the developed countries they will be they will face some challenges from these youth communities. Already we are observing American politics, also politics and economics, they run together. It also has some unstable conditions. Many people do not like what they are observing in US politics. Maybe many people do not like both in Democrat and Republican, like Bangladesh. Then what will be the new solutions, right? What will be the alternative? So my observation, three things will be very valuable. Number one, technology or tech companies with the social media, with this AI, it create huge impact in human life. Secondly, the youth community, they hate this kind of politics. What Sasha says, the real estate peoples, and they will take the leads. But they do not like this kind of things. So even USA has 42 million people. Bangladesh has 57% youth. And third things, which is more and more important in terms of ethics, in terms of morality, this techno-progressive youth community may come to politics and they go for new revolutions for a USA, for England, for Saudi Arabia, like Bangladesh. So I'm very, very concerned. Maybe you can say it's a utopian issues. But 5 years before, when I started this talent economy, I uh, again and again, I award these things about emerging economy. That time, many people laugh at me, and many people say it may be possible, it may not. Most of the people do not believe. Right now, youth are in power. So do not misunderstand about the youth communities. Why? Because when experienced people, they lose their leadership ability, right? They do not have enough capacity to lead the country. That time, youth may fill up these positions with their political views. Let's say Greta is a great example of youth activist with their political movement and with their knowledge. So this is very, very interesting moment, both in politics, economy, and AI revolutions. So I do more support on youth communities. How I see the youth communities in USA, they have a lot of frustration uh, with lot of loan. They have lot of frustrations with the ability of the politicians of USA, how Trump is moving, how populism is growing. So these frustrations maybe go convert as a revolutions, and it's happening. It's happening around the world. Even Bangladesh restructure and all of the things happening through the youth communities.
Yes, Sharif, that you're absolutely right about that. And I grew up in the Vietnam War era, and there was a tremendous amount of youth-related power that was exerted. It was Richard Nixon resigning due to Watergate and all of that kind of stuff. But I don't see that energy in the United States. I understand why you're saying that, because there is that energy in that part of the world, and you're seeing that. But here I see a lot of apathy. A lot of people that are young are not energized the way we were when we were so outraged against the Vietnam War and so outraged against these things. And we did do sit-ins. We did do things like that. And I can't see any of that. There's the No Kings parades. Those things are happening, but those aren't necessarily youth oriented. So I think what's happening in different parts of the world is very interesting right now, but I don't see that youth energy in the United States.
So what gives you energy is getting killed. Your friends getting sent to Vietnam and you getting sent to Vietnam. 50,000 Americans were killed in the Vietnam War, which makes people not apathetic, the risk of death.
Just because I want to agree with Dr. Sharif. And I hate to agree with it this way. Nick, you can go ahead and pull everybody up real quick because I want to point something out. If you notice, there's Jim, Rick, Sasha, and Nick. And then there's me and Dr. Sharif. We have different age groups. We have different generations that we're all seeing. Dr. Sharif and I are in a younger generation, and we see the youth movement and the youth push. The generation above us doesn't see that youth generation and push. And that should tell us what we're seeing in the US, because people of the older ilk don't see and don't notice that there is a huge push. For example, going on in Tennessee right now, those young individuals that were so were so outspoken, the younger Democrats that garnered so much, they're actually running and they're pushing through. They're doing a lot of youth movement stuff. There are a lot of other youth movements going on in the country. In the Democrat Party especially, there's a push towards youth. That is all that youth movement that we're talking about. Even with that 7 million, the record-breaking 7 million, because I think they pointed out that the Vietnam War, which you guys just referenced, which was in your time, that was a big youth movement push. Well, the 7 million people was 5 million more than what happened with the protests during that war. So that isn't just compromised of just old people going out and marching. The people in the frog outfits, that's youth. That's not older individuals. Those are youthful individuals that are out there. The guy who the older individual that made the news was the New York Giants fan who chased out, who was yelling racial slurs, talking about he loves ice, and fell on his forehead. That was an old dude. And what was he doing? Chasing young people because of the youth movement that's
Yeah, I
there.
couldn't march anymore because I have to use crutches.
Okay, the olds here do notice that our last election started out as a 78-year-old guy running against an 82-year-old guy, and we could understand the youth, and nobody wanted that.
Right.
And even Kamala Harris, I think, is a youthful 61 or something. So yeah, we do need to get, and we look at the people in Congress, Grassley and Pelosi, and we need younger people.
And that's what, honestly, a lot of the people, and I agree with Dr. Sharif. Oh, my computer froze. But I agree with Dr. Sharif. There is a youth movement, and it's just not being recognized by by an older generation that sees.
Yeah, and I apologize for cutting Dr. Sharif off.
It has some sort of characteristics when youth movement happen, because most of the experienced people, even it's happened in Bangladesh. Most of the experienced people, they say, hey, they are young. What they do not have experience. They do not have economical powers. I have all of the political power. I have all of the money in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
I have all of my army in my pockets. I have all of the defense. So what the youth do? They ignore. And they kill, even this Bangladesh, around 2,000 youth communities. And then the powerfuls, the oligarch, all of the peoples run away. And they go to jail. Some of them go to jail and some of them run away. Honestly speaking, that the ignorance of any revolution start in this way. Hey, what the youth do, what they can do, that is the things I say talent economy. But I am respecting, let's say, Nick, Sasha, James, and Rick Rosnars, and all of your wisdom, because your wisdom will be helpful for these youth leaders to preparing themselves. That's why we innovate Kokoro, this wisdom app. And you will be very happy. Even in Bangladesh, we are utilizing Kokoro. In Japan, we are utilizing Kokoro. In India, we are utilizing Kokoro. Even in St. Edward University, USA, we are utilizing Kokoro. So your wisdom is valuable, but do not misunderstand this youth empowerment and their contribution.
Check this out. And if we want to go back to the polls, and sometimes old people need to listen to the young people, and you can look up the exit polls from 2024. Who voted for Trump? That was the older crowd. Oh. Who voted for Kamala Harris? That was the younger crowd. So there's a youth movement that is there and should be recognized, because it's just, and a lot of times we get when we're talking about different things on these shows, a lot of times I think we forget the demographics that we need to speak to.
You know,
And
that's a great point, Toby, because, you know, the baby boomer generation, which I'm part of, is great in numbers. And the younger people coming up now, they don't have the same numbers. And one of the things I hear is that we grew up having to listen to your music. We're so mad at you.
Well, let's listen to Sasha and get some senior wisdom here.
I don't think I would agree to divide people in youth and older or more experienced people or so on, especially if somebody who is as influential as J.D. Vance said that younger people tend to do stupid things. So he's defending his friends, fascists, for anti-Semitic and other posts that they're doing on social media and so on. Now, there is something else which is much more important. In the 60s, 50s, 60s, even part of 70s, there was alive such thing as American dream. People had strong belief and experience, by the way, that they could go when they finish school or college, they could go to work for a place like whether it's General Motors or Ford or IBM or something else, and they would stay there for the rest of their life, have nice pension, have a house, a car or two, children well educated in some cases or so on. That American dream is no longer there. It's been killed, decimated, evaporated. It's no longer there. So now young people, now the older people will get by somehow. Now the younger people, there is nothing for them to look forward to. They are living in a broken country, which will become even worse with years to come because of the dead, because of the certain segments of economies are being killed. Take the car industry that is being decimated thanks to Donald Trump. And so there is nothing for them to look forward to, except maybe moving to another country. But for that, they have to learn foreign language. Most of the Americans cannot learn the foreign languages, so it becomes absolutely hopeless situation. I don't know really what else they can do. They are being completely, for lack of the better word, I must say, fucked.
Well, there is a problem, and that I associate a little bit with the apathy, but there's some resentment that I hear, and I know that I'm not speaking for the younger generation because I'm not part of it, but you know, there's a frustration of you go to college and you get out of college and there's no jobs, you know, so people are really upset about that, and they don't think that they can change it with their votes, and I still think that that's the way to do it. And you know, younger people did vote for Kamala Harris, but you know, it's a numbers game. You've got to turn out in numbers. And so this is why I want to see that energy. You know, I know that I might mythologize my youthful experience in around the Vietnam War and things. Maybe there's not a single issue like that we can rally around, but maybe there is something that we can rally around to generate the kind of energy that is infectious. And you can overcome the baby boomers conservative type of reaction. They're in retirement now, and they don't want anything radical change. And so we've got to overcome that kind of thinking.
Well,
Hey, Jim, and everybody else. Speaking of radical change and all along those lines, there is a announcement, and it kind of comes around. Hold on a second, around business and everything. So Sasha will enjoy this announcement and everything, but a lot of the youth are trying to figure out what they can do work-wise and everything like that. And earlier today, Kroger announced that they've got a lot of jobs. I think it's tens of thousands of jobs, but it'll be that seasonal work. So they're about to do a seasonal boost, because one of the things that we hear people complain about is the lack of housing and the lack of opportunity. So unfortunately, this is only seasonal work, so it will possibly boost the economy temporarily, but then after January rolls around, you got to go back to not stocking the table or the shelves and everything like that. So, Jim, are you rushing off to Kroger to get a job and that nature? Because they did announce that they're going to be hiring a bunch of people to stock the shelves, and I know a lot of times people will do that. when there is seasonal work, when Kroger will probably be the first of several companies that'll make those announcements.
If it's wheelchair accessible, I can maybe do it. I can wheel myself or use my crutches to get there. No, I think seasonal work is great, but the California economy is based on that. And what we're trying to do is shut out people from coming and doing the jobs that we wouldn't want to do ourselves, and starting businesses that we wouldn't start ourselves. And we're keeping out the intelligent talent. And we're saying no to people coming into the country when we really need people. We always have. We always will. And these people come in and bring their talents. And right now we're shutting the door on them. And we're being hostile to them instead of welcoming. The Statue of Liberty says, "Give us your poor, you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses." Well, we don't walk that talk anymore. So we've got to change the way we act, the way we do things. And it starts at a policy level, and the only people that can change the policy are the politicians. And we have to vote to get politicians who pass policies that will make us proud again to live in.
Here's what Trump did. There's the H-1B international talent visa. If there's somebody from India or China or frickin' Africa or any place who's got talent and you want to bring them here, you get them an H-1B visa that says that we need this particular person to do this work. Trump just changed the policy that employers now need to pay $100,000 a year for that employee to the federal government on top of the employee's salary. So you're paying some, talented 27-year-old from
but
some.
The Republicans are against taxes. I thought.
But so you were paying that 27-year-old 180 grand a year to do coding or work in AI. Now you're paying 280,000 a year because you owe the government 100 grand for the kid.
Right. Hey, this Jacoby, and I know that it was mentioned in this area, meaning the Carolinas, but it's also a very important issue in California as well. We just had our city council have a very long meeting around housing and vouchers and a number of things like that. So it's part of the problem also that we don't have enough places for people to live, and there's a number of folks, even in the United States. I know it's a worldwide problem, but that are basically homeless. Because I know that we actually had here in Durham, there was a long city council meeting that focused on that, and they were trying to figure out ways to address the housing issue. And I know that's been a problem there in California, where you are, Jim, and Rick
absolutely.
as well. So.
No, that's a huge problem. Affordable housing is one of the things that we need to address. We need to address it as a priority. And right now, people have this tendency to say, "Well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and you're a failure. I'm not going to bail you out." And also the "not in my backyard" type of thinking. Yeah, build something for the homeless, but not around me. And what we have to do is start thinking like a community again. We've lost that sense, and this individuality. This I can do it myself. This I'm by myself and do it alone. I don't need anyone's help in any way. Sorry, Paul McCartney. But I think that kind of thinking has to change, and we have to think of the people who are less fortunate as someone that we can take care of. We can do this in this country. We have the resources if we have the will.
So I'm on a community board that evaluates NIMBY, not in my backyard, versus YIMBY, yes in my backyard, claims every month. And on the one hand, California is full of successful people who can afford to buy, expensive property, which puts poorer people in jeopardy. And on the other hand, developers are kind of scumbags who like to cut corners. And there's a developer wants to put up 100-unit apartment building in our neighborhood with no parking spaces, no underground parking, which will screw up parking up to a quarter mile away because the developer says, well, this development's for poor people, and so they don't drive. They take the bus. They take the subway. No, they don't. There's no bus station. There's no subway. In California, even if it just means you just drive a crappier car. So there are a ton of issues. Also, there is green construction that when people put up new stuff, we want them to do it as efficiently as possible. And there's also earthquake construction. We don't want our buildings to crush people in an earthquake. And so all of this makes it adds another year or more to getting your building approved. And it's complicated here.
Well, I'll tell you what they have in Spain. They have Article 7 of the Spanish Constitution, which I'm sure you've all read. It establishes the right under the Constitution to enjoy decent and adequate housing. Now, let me ask you this, framers of the U.S. Constitution, do you have that in your Constitution?
No, they're living a life of quiet.
Did you say no? You don't have the right to adequate. Here's
Well,
what
we have is
Not
like-
our Constitution, Nick. That was the question.
decent and adequate housing. You don't have decent and adequate housing in the U.S. Constitution, yet you have it in the Spanish Constitution. And so that's part of the reason when I walk around here, I don't see homeless people, which you have in your country. But as a resident of Spain, they don't seem to have it in this country.
How do they do it in Spain? Because LA and California have been trying to build housing for the homeless,
Well,
and we can't do it for less than $80,000 a person for some reason.
yeah, they say it places a duty on public authorities to promote the conditions necessary to guarantee the right. The guiding principles of social and economic policy, meaning it's not a fundamental right, but that can be directly claimed in court. But the thing is, they put a lot of pressure on the government.
But Nick, to everybody's question, how do they do it in Spain? Like I said, they were talking about vouchers here. They've been talking about other kind of programs. So how did they make it that everybody has a house and everything, and that there are no homeless? So what are they doing in Spain that allows that, or any other country that is having these housing issues addressed?
Yeah, well, what they do, they have all sorts of different laws here to promote adequate housing, including building more housing. In other words, in places. See, a problem we have in California is everything's so expensive. In other words, I don't know if you can build adequate housing in California because your land costs are so high. You certainly can't build it in the cities. It's astronomical. But even out in the countryside, it's a real problem because your land costs are so high. So I think you do have some unique, but they have a policy to force the government to force into adequate housing for everybody. And I don't even remember, if you don't even discuss it, it's not an issue. Like I said, it's not in the Constitution of the United States. So in the Constitution of the United States, your right to housing is sitting on a street somewhere. That's your right.
It's not in the Bill of Rights either.
Pardon? No, it's not in the Bill of Rights. I mean, the thing is, so the first thing you need to do to address the problem head on, and to create, because remember, David Walker's trying to do a constitutional amendment for fiscal responsibility, but there should be one also that adds housing. That is a government function. There's no reason why the United States of America should have 70,000 homeless people in California. Absolutely none whatsoever. But you have no legal right or no principle to even stand on. So this is the serious problem. And Spain said, hey, we're going to address this. And they addressed it head on. So now I go outside, I can't find any homeless people. I mean, there might be one, some guy sitting on a corner somewhere, but it's you have to really.
Well, Spain and Southern California have the same advantage in that we got good weather. So
you do have good weather.
Build housing like Los Angeles is housing a bunch of people in basically tool sheds, 8 by 10 sheds that we put up like a whole little village of them.
Tiny homes.
Yeah, and
Tiny
homes, but we haven't figured out how to do that for less than tens of thousands of dollars per person.
Yeah, and you're going to have to build it away from Los Angeles and San Francisco because the land costs are too high. It's going to have to be like in Bakersfield or Fresno or somewhere far out of around the water area, because LA and San Francisco, the land costs are just astronomical.
Well, we have shitty neighborhoods where you could probably buy.
That is true, but you have no policy to force the government to force people to create that. Instead, you have what somebody on this panel said, scummy real estate developers. Well, I spent 45 years working with real estate developers. Okay, and if you were to classify a group as scummy, that would be it. Wait, who's your president, by the way? Is he is he a lawyer or a doctor? What is the occupation of your president right
I
now?
think he was I think your wife's favorite guy, wasn't he?
I think he was.
Well, your president is a real estate developer,
Oh, I
right?
thought you were talking about the pedophile.
Yeah, he was,
No,
he was a real
he
estate
was a
person.
real estate developer.
That's not in the
And-
Epstein files.
and-
Oh,
and-
we don't know what's in there.
I'll tell you as a group. I don't even want to get into horror stories of these people, but as a group, every time we saw them come to our office, we knew we had a problem. So we asked, "What do you do for a living?" "I'm in real estate." Oh boy, there we go. It's the situation is already south because we know. I hate to say you profile them. Okay, not to say all of them are bad, but you got a good point. But the thing is, you have to have some sort of incentives to build more housing, and that's where Greenspan did a good idea. He was really intent on making sure that housing units kept moving through and getting started. And you have to have policies behind it. And right now, you have no policies, nothing. You have a constitutional amendment that allows it. So you get what you asked for, which is
Well, we do have cheap land, Nick, but we don't have any water near that cheap land.
well, that's one reason California is not a good place. I mean, the thing is, you need to move them away from California because you're right, Jim. You don't have water, you don't have the resources there, and it's very expensive. I would move them out to Kansas.
I have a theory about chess. I think chess is a conspiracy to distract smart people so they don't go into real estate. Because if smart
That's
people
true.
go into real estate, they would drive all the shysters out.
I have Make America Great Again. I'd like to make America smart. By the way, I'm not going to use the word again because it never happened. So the thing is, you just have to make America smart. But don't put again because you don't have a history of being smart.
No, make America kind.
Nick, I think that,
wise.
You have to make America smart.
Kokoro, right? Kokoro.
like
Make it a
Nick,
wise.
you have a better understanding about USA. Why right now this Trump administrations look like so arrogant for lower middle income or middle class peoples?
Oh, because they're insecure. Okay, I mean, if you want to know why Trump's so arrogant, it's because he's insecure. A lot of people are arrogant because they're insecure. He's insecure about his intellect. Nobody who's smart would say, "I'm one of the smartest ever." I mean, they do it. Even Rick runs from it. In order to go, "Smart, please."
Yeah.
It's like being, good at chess. You don't really talk about it too much except when we're on chess players. Okay, so he's very insecure. And then he's got to find people who are dumber than him, and he's great at that. Okay, and those are called his cabinet members. Okay, they are not the best and the brightest by any metrics whatsoever, Dr. Sharif. In other words, I go look at resumes, I look at metrics and math, and you know what? They just don't even pass. I mean, and I'll just see, like Pam Bondi, she went to Stetson Law School. I didn't even want to go to Stetson Law School. It's right down the street from where I live in Tampa. The main office is in DeLand. I know it real well. My brother went there. My law partner graduated number 2 in his class at Stetson. Pam Bondi, she graduated magna cum barely. No major law firm would even interview her, let alone hire her. And what is she doing now? She's the Attorney General of the United States. Oh my Lord! Only in America can you rise from being completely not great and be placed in a great position stochastically. So if she went to any major firm, she wouldn't do it. I can go almost each one, not everyone, each one of his cabinet members and say, look, these are definitely not the best and the brightest. So you got to ask yourself this question: why would the chief executive officer hire these people? It's because A, he can't get anybody good to work for him, which is possible, or B, he wants to hire people that are less competent than he is. And that is certainly no way to run a company. When I started my pension 25 years ago, the first thing I looked for people that I did out this. I mean,
okay, now we can bring in the party.
Say it is what it is. What?
Well, you can see it in his cabinet meetings. In his first term, his cabinet had competent people who eventually got sick of it and left. This time,
like
he
Tillerson.
televises his cabinet meetings, and they often begin the meeting by going around the table, and each person praises Trump effusively for the great job he's doing. And
The obsequious sycophants. That's what they are. obsequious sycophants. I mean,
Yes.
the worst of the worst. And by the way, that's how you get your position. So I could never work in the administration because I'm not good at being obsequious sycophant. That has to be my job description. We were looking for somebody who will basically suck up no matter what. And then they get in, forget it, and that's because he's not confident in himself because he's afraid of being challenged. If you're not afraid of being challenged, you're very confident. You go, I hired people that were better than me. I was going, and when I played in the chess team, remember Jim, it was Larry Christensen, Ron Henley. I got people that were better than me. I didn't want people worse than me. I had plenty of those around. I got guys that were better than me. And they make you better. So, he's just a very poor manager. And then you try to look through his metrics. How did he get his position? Did he work his way through corporate America? Did he work his way through the educational system, then through corporate America, or did he inherit it? Take a choice.
Well,
he
so
inherited it.
Trump really isn't used to working with a bunch of people. The Trump Corporation, according to what I've read,
Right.
his day-to-day affairs, he was working in a team of 4 people. A secretary assistant, but like he's not used to any kind of hierarchical business.
Oh no! But he never legitimately got his job. Okay, you have to think about this.
Yeah, and also
Right.
Teddy
He
Roosevelt.
never legitimately got his job. I am totally familiar with that type of work. Okay, so the thing is, I can criticize it because I've been a beneficiary of that. He never legitimately got his job. So,
Teddy
it
Roosevelt
is what it is. Welcome to
the
America.
presidency is a bully pulpit, and by
Yeah.
bully pulpit he meant that bully for you. It was a good phrase. It meant it's a good pulpit.
Yeah.
But Trump has made the bully pulpit a pulpit for bullies. And
Yeah,
what,
right.
what are
Exactly.
bullies?
Exactly.
Bullies are
Yeah,
insecure people.
It's very, very, very entertaining here in Spain. But other than that, boy, I'd hate to live under that rule. So I feel sorry for all you guys. But I'm going to have a good time at the beach tomorrow in Badalona.
It
And
doesn't affect my day-to-day life. I live life as well as I can every day.
that's what I'm saying.
Even when the Dodgers win, it's okay.
Dodgers win. Okay, and we'll see you tomorrow on World Edition. Bye-bye.